Hey, good morning, everyone. Kamara's here back with another video, and this is something new that I'm gonna start doing. So like, you know how I do my weekly recaps? I'm gonna start doing like weekly forecasts. I'm gonna start showing you my trades that I do after I've entered all of them and what I'm thinking for the week. So without further ado, let's get started. So these are my 3 trades for the week. Netflix, Nvidia, Tesla, the usual. So I'm kind of mixed. Nvidia I am bullish on just because I know FOMO is a really aggressive thing. So if Nvidia sees any type of correction, I know that like buying pressure will come back, which is why I'm conservative. I wanted to sell at 395, but I was sure that Nvidia wouldn't go to 400. So that's why I chose the 400 strike. And I don't expect it to break this trend line. If it does, like, if I'm being really liberal, then it might retrace back to 420. But best case scenario, right here it retraced like $10. Yeah, so, and what is this? 434. Yeah, so maybe like 424 might be the worst it would retrace to before, not to key level, so before it like bounces. It might have a liquidity sweep in this area, but I don't see this coming down to 400 in the span of 5 days, even though it has been closing red days after red day. But we'll see how that plays out. This is like, Nvidia options are really risky right now, which is why I do plan to take profit tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. I'm not really interested in holding this through to 100%. So I mean, it's not doing well so far, but like, the day you open a credit spread, it's never good. Like, you're always going to be down negative. I think by the end of the day you might be more positive. So yeah, I'm not really minding this. So it's ironic how I started with the second option. Let's go back to the first one, which was Netflix. So I'm not trading on Meta or Lamb Research. They have their earnings this week, and these are 2 really big stocks, especially Lamb. So I'm trading on Netflix and Tesla, which finished their earnings last week. So let's go into Netflix here. So after a bad earnings week, Netflix took a deep hit. And I'm gonna be honest, I have personal bias on Netflix. I don't like the stock. I'm a fan of Suits, all right. But I don't see this stock going back up to 465 in a span of 5 days, especially after that rough week. I calculated like how long it took for it to reach this level from like a previous level down here, and that's about like a week and a half roughly. So yeah, I don't plan on holding any of these positions to 100% unless it's really guaranteed. I plan on closing them out at 50%. I'm starting to become a little bit more quicker with my ins and outs, but I want to talk about something new here in a minute. And then Tesla, same thing with Tesla. I don't think it has the ability to come back up to 300 after its earnings, which was positive, but I think it's just like the economic situation right now that's got Tesla in a bit of a bind. So I could see some upward momentum, especially now that it did break the trend line. But you might notice I have 2 trend lines on. This one was the weekly trend line, and this is the daily trend line. Yeah, I don't see it going below. I don't see it dipping further than it already has. Maybe like a correction to around 250, but it's most definitely not going up to 300. Not this week, at least. So yeah, this I might hold to 100%, but I have been wrong. So yeah, I wanted to do Adobe, but honestly, it's been like I've never had a loss on Adobe. I've been right every time. But the thing with Adobe now is, okay, I can change these colors. The thing with Adobe now is when you look at these candles that has been forming lately, it's been everywhere. Like the bearish hammer, right? And okay, well, this is just starting to move. I wanted to play call credit spreads on it, but the thing is, the moving averages I have is how I mainly determine a trend along with the trend line, and right now it looks like it's indecisive. Maybe if I go onto the 30-minute chart, there might be something there. Yeah, it'll be bearish for the time being. Time being is maybe like the next 2 hours. Maybe like this trading session, it might close lower than it did, close lower than it opened. But it's too soon for me to say anything with Adobe. But yeah, those are my plays for this week. And this is something that I want to talk about. So I'm entering school in a few weeks, and I won't have time to trade like I do now. So I've been looking at something that's a little bit more time efficient, and I'm thinking about going back to SPY. And what I mean is, you know, the S&P is something that I really like to have in my portfolio. But you know, I've like since June 6th, it's been I could have bought around here, but like the money wasn't even in my account up until this time period, and then it just gapped up overnight, and I wasn't really interested in buying it at that price. So what I'm planning on doing is, since I want to own the S&P, but since I also don't have $45,300 in capital to sell puts on, I've been thinking if it's worth taking a full credit spread loss in order to acquire those shares at a discount price. But it's not like anything like weekly dated options. This I'm talking about monthly options. So I was literally looking at the options chain. I was building it out. So let me show you what I mean. So these are some supply zones that I plotted out, and that's a resistance zone or whatever. So this is a recent supply zone that I'm looking at. All right. So I want to get filled at 447. All right. So let's go down. Wait. All right. So clearly there's no value in it this week. It's just not worth it. 447. Which one am I going, dude? Like, okay. I mean, there's value in it, clearly. But like, what am I trying to get at here? I'm looking at playing like monthly options on these recent supply zones that I've plotted, and I don't know, I'm just kind of having a hard time trying to execute the trade because I just don't know how it's gonna work. Like, unless I really want to buy the shares, I don't think it's worth it. But at the same time, I'm not ready to own it on my brokerage. I want to own it in my retirement, and the retirement account doesn't allow spreads. So I'm just kind of lost at sea here about what I should do. Because more than not, if I sell like a 0.17 delta option, it's more than likely not going to end up in my favor. So I would just end up at a loss. And although this probably has a high chance of winning, I don't even think it might end below 450 this week unless the economic data suggests so, which is another thing I have to worry about. But I don't know, I just wanted to throw that out there. It's something I'm thinking about, but I have to do some more research on it. Yeah, so those are my plays for this week. Options week, it's just a nice addition. You know, all the stocks I have positions on, I keep it here so I can keep track of price and its percent change. But those are my plays for the week. Don't copy them, that's for sure, because the time has already passed. And yeah, we'll see where it goes.